Good morning, good afternoon all. Welcome to today's CC-Webinar live session, which is part of our CC-DIS 2020 event, our virtual event. We would also like to thank Sparkle for sponsoring the CC-Webinar live session. For audience, if you have any question throughout the panel or keynote speech, please put your questions in the chat box. Also, at the end of the panel discussion, we will have some time assigned for your questions where you will be able to ask them verbally by clicking on the raise hand button and allowing me to unmute you. And now I would like to introduce our moderator, Eric von Stockholm, CC Ambassador. Over to you, Eric.
Thank you, Laura, and welcome everybody, and welcome to my panelist, keynote speaker, and welcome to the world out there. How are you doing? And thank you for joining us, because we are on the second day here in virtually from Rome on our Telco Infrastructure Summit, and we have more things coming up. So later this morning, keep on tuned, because we have more panel discussions coming up. What are we going to discuss today? It is all about security, and more specifically on the cybersecurity at the forefront. So what are the challenges? What do we see with IoT, big data, 5G, and so on? What are the opportunities for the operators? So this is what we're going to discuss, and so please stay tuned with us. We have a fantastic panel of senior subject matter experts lined up for you guys. But before we go there, we first going to listen to Daniele Mancuso, Chief Marketing Solutions and Business Development Officer at Sparkle. So Daniele, I know you're going to talk about cybersecurity, of course, but I think more about the current priorities and evolution trends. So the floor is yours, Daniele. Good luck, and I'm very curious to listen to what you have to share with us and the public out there.
Thank you, Eric. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Actually, I prepared a few slides, so Eric, if you don't mind, I'm going to sharing on the screen.
Perfect.
So I would like, first of all, to thank the audience to be here today to attend this quite interesting keynote and panel about cybersecurity at the forefront. And I'd like to start setting up the environment, trying to agree with all of you guys on a definition of what cybersecurity is. Because I believe, due to the entity of the associated problems, I believe it's crucial that we all understand the wide meaning of the word. So I think this definition that I found can satisfy all of us, and it's cybersecurity refers to the body of technologies, processes, and practice designed to protect networks, devices, applications, and data from attacks, damages, or unauthorized access. For me, dealing with cybersecurity means, of course, protecting each and any of the components that you see listed on the left part of the slide, but rather with an holistic approach and an end-to-end vision and comprehension. What I like to say when I speak about cybersecurity, when I talk in panels like this, is that practicing cybersecurity to me is like being on diet. It's not just enough to avoid food, but you need to schedule, to be fully aware of the risks that an unplanned piece of cake can bring to your wicked plan, and to build the measures to mitigate in case you surrender to it. And above all, to have a good deal of perseverance. I think this is really key in cyber. So having now a clear definition of what we intend with cybersecurity, let's see some associated numbers to build a solid idea about how wide is the problem. And I would like to start and to focus for a moment to Italy, of course, being virtually hosted in Rome by us in Sparkle. Well, last year, Italy recorded 1,670 heavy attacks. Just to be clear, an heavy attack is an attack that leaves sensible and countable damages to the victim ecosystem, being them financial or reputational, it doesn't matter. In reality, we suspect that the attacks were much more than this, because victims maybe are not reporting, maybe because they are scared about their reputational effect, notwithstanding GDPR. But even if the number was correct, we are still facing a very serious trend here. First of all, in absolute terms, this number means almost 5 attacks per day. It means that in Italy there are 5 companies, 5 businesses that every day are paying a ransom or are paying some other damages to recover their data or to rebuild up their infrastructures and platforms. And the threatening issue here is not just the absolute number, but it's the fact that there is a quite marked trend of increase. We have plus 7% compared to last year and plus 91.2% compared to 2014. Moving on, but still staying in Italy, it's interesting to see this report that VMware Carbon Black was commissioning. And it was basically done via an interview to 255 Italian CTOs, CIOs, and CSOs. Basically, 99% of them confirmed that they have been victim of an attack in the last 1 year, and 68% of 2 or more attacks. And 26% declared that it was an island hopping. Island hopping, for the expert of the matter, is an attack that is not pointing directly the victim ecosystem, but is the result of jumping towards different close infrastructure before getting there. And in particular, the supply chain attacks are becoming more and more popular, with 11% of the attendees declaring that 11% was coming from supply chain. Moving on, and now moving to worldwide, we can see that in 2019 there were 15.1 billion records exposed worldwide. It's an unbelievable number. This data that were exposed contains private information about people and business, personal information, financial information, industrial copyrights. Think of the associated damage that this number is bringing. And this number is 218% more compared to 2018. If we move to DDoS, and maybe Max later can tell us more about it, we can see that in 2019, we had network DDoS attacks that were in the range of more or less 300 gigabit per second and 200 megapacket per second. But if we move on, we see that already in the first semester of this year, both Cloudflare and Akamai were measuring DDoS attack via network protocol that were unbelievably doubling or even taking 4 times more this number. Cloudflare was registering 754 megapacket per second, and Akamai 809 megapacket per second on an attack directed to an European bank. And finally, last number for today, I promise, in Q1 2020, Amazon Web Service fought a network DDoS attack to one of its customers that was reaching a peak of 2.3 terabit per second, 44% larger than any other attack recorded in AWS so far. Those are impressive numbers. It means that attackers are increasing and getting more sophisticated and creating more damage. So let's think on these numbers and do some consideration. Well, basically, certainly I would say the exponential growth of IoT devices that every day are being connected to the internet, and the fact that many of them can simply be hacked and transformed in zombie devices is augmenting the ranks of the attacker. And the fact that they are geographically dispersed even complicates the identification of the source and the mitigation of the mitigation of the attack itself. Another important element to take into consideration is that COVID and work for home are in turn extending the footprint of the corporate networks, exposing more surface to attacks and therefore undermining the enterprise's security posture. Last but not least, cyber attacks are not anymore caused by nerds or geeks or boys that close at home wants to prove and to show their abilities, but they are rather caused by well-organized multinational criminal organizations that are really acting as profit-oriented corporations, sometimes acting alone for their private interest, but sometimes backed up by rogue states and supported by their intelligence services. And talking about criminals and profit, in reality, I have another number, sorry. The associated cumulative cost of cybercrime damage is an astonishing $6 trillion per year by 2021, just doubling in less than 6 years. But this is not just the problem. I mean, it's clear that wherever there is a crime and a profit, there is an associated cost damage. But damages are starting to get even more complicating and change natures. It is of a few weeks ago, the news of a German patient who lost her life because she couldn't be accepted by the first aid of an hospital in Düsseldorf because the hospital was fully concentrated on fighting against a ransomware that disabled completely the IT environment of the hospital. Let's move a bit on the market trend, and please, since in my opinion, the trends always reflect both the cybercrime side and the cybersecurity side, allow me to use this background that represent an endless chess game between good and evil. Because like this, we can really build an analogy with the endless match between attackers and defenders. So first of all, if we analyze, let's say, the bad part, definitely we can all concur that today there is too much data around and too little transparency around them. In 2017, just to bring you an example, a French citizen was asking a dating app company the possibility to download all her personal data that the company was holding about her. And in reply, she received a document with more than 800 pages of information that was including their Facebook likes, their Facebook friends, the age and rank of all the people that she was in contact with the application, the personal interest. So you understand that the quantity of data is really showing the fact that there is no a full and clear regulation and transparency about the way those companies are storing. There is a high risk of misuse. There is often negligence in sharing data with third parties. There is the possibility of building vote profilings, etc. If we move to smart supply chains, we see that the usage of Internet of Things is empowering more and more supply chains. There is the use of automation, of robotics and big data management to improve efficiency and to lower cost, both internally and vis-a-vis suppliers. Smart supply chains are tending to virtualize elements such as warehousing, which is no longer a physical building, but every location or product might be at any given moment in time in a different place. And COVID was definitely accelerating this process, focusing, of course, on efficiency, focusing on cost reduction, but leaving out security. So robots, automation, and operational infrastructure have to be monitored and protected. Another bad trend is the one associated to the bring your medical device. There is what is called the increasing of the Internet of Medical Things. In the last decade, basically, there are a lot of devices in the medical field, like insulin pumps or glucose monitors or defibrillators that were all of a sudden connected to the internet. We are starting to see proof of concept attacks to these devices, and this will just increase in future. So imagine today that we are all in COVID crisis. What can happen if a massive attack against devices that are measuring oxygen level in the blood will be launched by a criminal organization. Same thing applies to smart computer devices, all the Alexa, Google, and Apple ecosystems, but not just them, but also the standalone ones. We all remember the case of Mirai malware that was infecting home camera and routers, using them as a zombie to launch massive and distributed DDoS attacks. We have increasing threats to the shipping industry that is critical for the world's global economy. Many modern supply chains depend on shipping, and cyber criminals have already spotted this high pressure point. We are seeing increasing attack to ports, navigation systems, and some ransomware on board infrastructure that are basically paralyzing the system of a ship. The same applies to vehicle and traffic management infrastructure, and of course to real-time operating systems that are embedded in the IoT devices. Patching and protecting devices that are costing few dollars or less with the traditional firewalls or any other measure that we know today is basically not possible. And this is going to be an increasing and potentially exploding problem. Already in 2019, several vulnerabilities have been identified in this realm. Of course, it's not just bad news. Trend exists also on the good side, let's say on the light side of the force, if you allow me. So while there are trends that cyber criminals are using to increase and to make their targets, their attacks more focused, we are also seeing emerging of new technologies and governance that are helping us to fight those attacks. We progressively see the rise of extended detection and response systems that are able to augment the effectiveness of CM, correlating even soft signals that are coming from emails or other means to the standard logs that we receive day by probes and endpoints. Of course, data normalization is key on this. We see the emergence of security process automation side by side with the robotic process automation that most of us utilize already in our day-by-day activities to eliminate repetitive tasks. In this way, we can reduce the probability of human mistakes, and we give the possibility to our people to focus on more security specialistic tasks. Artificial intelligence and especially machine learning are continuing to automate and augment the human capability decision across a broad set of use cases, not only in security, but in the whole digital business. However, the implementation of those technology require a high level of security expertise to address the key challenges. Of course, AI system needs to be protected themselves because they need to enhance our security defense posture, and they can anticipate nefarious use of the artificial intelligence system themselves. To contrast the abuse and misuse of personal data, privacy is becoming a discipline of its own. And we see that it may require inside the very complex organization full-time position within legal departments of the enterprise of telco providers. We see that more and more cloud-delivered security services are increasing. So we are more focusing on secure access service edge technology to allow organizations to better protect mobile workers and cloud applications. Many organizations use the same security product on end-to-end facing endpoints, but cloud-native applications do require a new approach. And we see that new technologies and new governance models are rising up. And finally, let me say that the zero trust approach is starting to replace the old concept that whatever is inside my perimeter is safe by definition. This concept is going to fall away, and it's being replaced by the zero trust model that basically say not trust anything or anybody until you didn't do any clear assessment. What about telco in all this complex scenario? Well, of course, telcos are, first of all, enterprises and are subjected, of course, to the same trends and attacks. But telcos are also delivering services that can be used as a means of attack, and therefore they need to be protected twice to some extent. Telcos are also subjected to very peculiar issues that need special attention. We already talked about the personal data proliferation with all the related regulations in terms of storing, protecting, and using this data. Of course, the more you move towards retail, the more this amount of data increase in volume. But today, also wholesalers are coming in contact with a huge quantity of personal data due to the increased focus on customer experience and therefore the proliferation of web portals that require the usage of credentials and the identification of people. At the same time, identity and access management have to be rethought and in some cases re-engineering from scratch. To allow not only the management of the internal workforce, but also the management of third parties that can be supplier, partner, and customers that need to use our infrastructures and system. These identity and access management systems need to allow now federation mechanism with external authorities to allow single sign-on capabilities across diverse platforms. And the authentication is not just related to physical people, but the rise of API and interconnected service providers has to take into consideration also the possibility that an attack will come from the API gateway rather than from the web portal. The same applies to the proliferation of hybrid cloud services that, of course, are increasingly exposed to a number of third parties that needs to be sorted out. And you need to impose a centralized and right governance to manage and sort out all the dispersed responsibilities. We see the progressively abandoning of the old approach of deploy technology first and ask question later because we deem it's not sustainable anymore. And finally, we see that regulators impose a holistic and focused management of security. Old siloed of school of siloed security is not enough and is not more acceptable or sustainable. It is definitely a challenging scenario, but as we all know, challenges and disruption are opportunity generators. At Sparkle, we decided to ride on those opportunities, and we are progressively launching a complete portfolio of solutions and products to progressively go to market with a full and complete security proposition. So it's not just protecting ourselves and our services, but it's also looking for new revenue generator streams. And from where we could start, if not from our award-winning IP transit service, our CBON as we call it, empowering it and augmenting with the flavor of DDoS solutions that span from a very basic and embedded in the service black holing solution to more sophisticated on-demand, self-managed, and based on BGP flow spec. So we implemented clearing farms within our premises. We can scale capability of the clearing farm over the cloud, and we can allow our customers to define by themselves what is the best methodology to protect their internet access. And moving forward, as I told, we are building a full and complete portfolio of solution. We ideally divided the portfolio of solutions in 5 main pillars that deal with the identification, the protection, the detection, the main to respond, and the recovery part. And for each of these pillars, we have a suite of products and solutions, part of them provided in a catalog and marketplace flavor, but part of them enriched and blended with our top-notch operations and professional service of our security operations center. Of course, we span from services that are building on top what is our core business, so on top of connectivity, but we are going to provide tools and products that are also not clearly related to connectivity, but can create a full ecosystem for a customer that is coming in contact with Sparkle and wants, of course, the end-to-end. What's next? This is basically our next frontier. Progressive introduction of zero trust approach, both for our internal usage and for the go-to-market. As we say, security perimeter is not enough anymore. We need to apply to the fact that attacks can come from anything and anybody that connects anywhere to our infrastructure, internal, external, by hopping and by supply chain. And speaking about portfolio, this is basically our roadmap. So after the services and solutions that I showed you in the previous slides, our next step is the one to augment the SOC posture and the proposition, introducing, of course, SOAR for orchestration, automation, and response, and advanced threat intelligence. We will focus on cloud and overlay, introducing CASB solutions and SASE. We will move then to apply a further layer of secure connectivity, introducing cryptography and next generation virtual firewalls. We will focus more on the operational technology solutions to protect specific verticals of customers. In our customer portfolio, we have oil and gas plants, we have electricity plants. You understand that security solutions to protect those mission critical environments are clearly different from the mainstream. And finally, the last frontiers of our development is going to be quantum communication and key distribution, on which we are working with a small, very focused team. And of course, I cannot give you at the moment more details on this, but it's going to be a very interesting development of our portfolio of products. I think I finished with my slides. I would like to thank everybody for the patience of listening to me. And Eric, the floor is yours.
Grazie, and thank you so much, Daniele, for sharing actually your presentation and your knowledge. Let me quickly check if there is a question in the chat box from the audience. No, there is not. Maybe from the other panelists, they can bump into any time. And if not, then for the first part, it was actually quite a sad story, especially when you mentioned that the let's say the hospital in Düsseldorf, which you know had a major attack, and therefore a life could not be spared. So that's a really difficult thing. And then of course you moved into, let's say, the solution and the services which Sparkle is developing currently at the moment, or rolling out at the moment, or in the very near future. So let me ask you this, Daniele, what to you and to Sparkle has actually been the biggest challenge? Because I can imagine that there is a huge amount of work to be done, a huge amount of research and development investments, let alone not only, let's say, change part of your business model. So how did it impact actually the operator Sparkle, and how can you maybe support and help, let's say, other operators which are out there who say, well, listen, this is also what we're facing, and how can Sparkle, let's say, help other operators?
Sure, Eric, and thank you for the question. Well, of course, cybersecurity is not something that you can invent or you can specialize from one day to another. But you know, we had what we call it a golden opportunity. Why golden? Because everybody probably knows that few years ago, Sparkle has been declared infrastructure that is critical for the Italian state. So what is called the Golden Power Decree was issued by the government of Italy. And basically from that day, Sparkle is subjected to implement very strict rules, very strict methodologies to protect all its internal and external assets that are called to constitute critical infrastructure for the survivability of the country. This, of course, generated a huge amount of work, both on the technical, but also on the governance point of view, and also organizational, let me say, because this is, I mean, the appliance of those decree, of those regulations is often the accelerator for the constitution of an end-to-end security-oriented function within telco operators or within also critical enterprises. And this is exactly what happened in Sparkle. A few years ago, we had the constitution of our security function that was basically aggregating all the cyber part, data protection, infrastructure protection, but also physical security, anti-fraud, and so on and so forth. So we started, of course, analyzing in layers all the activities that we had to do in order to be compliant with the enormous number of regulations that were coming from this, from the application of this decree. But I think we were really good not to be limited to the word compliance. You know, compliance to something does not mean security, in my opinion. Compliance is just a stamp, a mark that you put on something, say, okay, I did my homeworks, it's enough, and you can put aside. No, I think the people that were assembled in the security function were creating the right level of awareness within the business function, within the staff function. And therefore, there was this increasing level of competence being created at all layers. We had to build up our security operations center. We had to increase the number of protection systems that we put on top of our network and of our assets. And at a certain point in time, being in contact, of course, with best-in-class partners that are working with us to increase day by day our security posture, I think we matured the decision to transform all this incredible effort in a business-driven effort. We saw the opportunity of monetizing the efforts and the investment that we put in place in order to be compliant with the regulator. And from that moment came, the assembling of the product team, the decision on priorities on products to be chosen. And of course, also there we put in monetization problems that we were having for the internal part. You saw from the portfolio, of course, that the first services that went live were the DDoS, because they are really close to our core business. And also the SOC as a service, because again, the SOC was entering in full cycle to protect the internal infrastructure. And progressively the SOC is acquiring customers to protect them, their infrastructure. We are building expertise in creating, in building a vulnerability assessment and penetration tests that are the basic professional services that you need to run when you want to acquire new customers and bring them to your galaxy. Well, I would say that this was more or less the project, the process. We are very happy about it, and we are proceeding with a good expedition towards the next step.
Well, congratulations on that, and thank you very much. So, Daniela, again, thank you so much for your presentation and sharing, let's say, the evolution trends and the priorities that they are out there. So thank you very much for that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about cybersecurity at the forefront in our world. So let me please give the floor to the fellow panelists, where together with Daniela, we're going to discuss how the current landscape looks like and what are the challenges and opportunities out there, and how does the future looks like. So as well from a technical, but also from a business point of view. So if I may start with Elsa, of course, please. Maybe you can introduce yourself quickly to the audience. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Hello, I'm Elsa Huguet. I'm part of Orange International Carriers, and I'm with the marketing department in charge of all about security and anti-fraud solutions, which is a vast subject, as Daniela was talking about.
Thank you, Elsa, and so from Paris, let's go to back to Rome again. Roberto, buongiorno.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Roberto Vignani, and I'm working in Center for Security. I'm leading the CMT market, communication, media, technology, and aerospace and defense market for Italy, Central Europe, and Greece. Still in my house due to COVID emergency. Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much, Roberto. And from close to Rome, we go all the way up to Germany, Düsseldorf. Max?
Hi, my name is Max Röttgemann, working for Deutsche Telekom Global Carrier, and I'm a product manager for IP Transit and DDoS Defense.
Thank you very much, Max, and welcome, Elsa, Max, and Roberto, and together with Daniela, we want to give you a warm welcome to be with us and to be with us on the panel. And Roberto, if I can start with you, looking at the current cybersecurity landscape, who and what are the key drivers actually, and what are the latest developments and challenges in the cybersecurity land? What can you share with us and the audience?
Let me say first of all that the numbers presented by Daniele are really scary numbers. The escalation of cyber attacks is dramatically growing. We very well know which is this phenomenon. It's also a complex scenario, and the main drivers in the security arena comes first of all from the market. Whichever will be the business model that communication operators will choose, operators and network leaders, experience provider, business platform enable, global multi-market operator, security will be a focal point. User, first of all, will choose operators also considering the ability to preserve data and infos, and we need to consider security as a part of the customer experience from now. On the other hand, workforce will access more and more everywhere and always on services and platform, And we have seen this scenario during COVID-19 emergency, a really complex scenario for all of us and for all the companies. On the other hand, the company pyramids are becoming more and more liquid, hard to protect, especially with traditional and static approach in terms of security. And the company that will migrate the data and the process in the cloud will ask the operator to increase the level of security at the high level. Also because compete on the global market means also to be resilient and ready to manage and respond to global security attack. More on this, not only demand is changing, and this is the first drivers that I can share with you, but not only the demand is changing the rules, the game, but we have also to consider external factors as drivers, regulations, local government, terrorism, geopolitical situation and escalation. These are just some of the main drivers that are leading, that we have to consider in our market. And as a telco operator, as an operator in the telco scenario, we are leading the edge of security. In terms of priority and topics in the next future, what I can say that CISO and operators that will consider security as a business success factor need to consider some key points. First of all, enable security digital transformation. Relying on security digital identities is an imperative for digital business. Take into consideration, first of all, privacy and fraud concerns. Considering also that opening up to the ecosystem, to the cloud, are exposed to a greater attack surface and new threat actors. The second one is secure the journey into the new. All operators or companies in general are on the air with cloud, analytics, robotics, and IoT. And all the security traditional approach to protect that kind of asset doesn't work. It's a massive change in security concept, and we need to change the approach to secure this new environment. Third one, from our point of view, is to protect data and infrastructure, taking advantage of DevOps program and pushing to include security fully integrated and automated, investing in programs that can transform the SDLC approach. As said by Daniele, address also another opportunity, make business with cybersecurity. The cybersecurity business is growing exponentially. For telco operators, there is a huge space to monetize the investment that they are doing in security to protect themselves. Also because cyber risk is increasing and being considered for corporate impacts and business loss risks. The last two are address the cyber regulatory storms. Almost 10 years of non-stop regulation, Golden Power, for example, but also GDPR and plenty and several other regulation in the area of cybersecurity are putting a great pressure on the telco sector, but also on the company and our client. Third-party cyber risk continue to grow and be a costly problem area for our clients. And the last one is prepare for the real cyber war. Telco are targeted for sure more by sophisticated cyber attackers from high professional adversaries. It means also for telco approach with no traditional SOC, let me say, or environment, this kind of situation, but include more and more automation and transform the current capabilities. If I can close, the new challenge in terms of technology has emerged from one of our recent analysis, implicit security, shows that emerging technology poses major new security challenge, but mostly C-suite executives are understanding the risk and are underestimating also the risk and oversight that could have a profound, deep impact, the deep effects of both of innovation and growth potential. We are monitoring, in particular, as Accenture, artificial intelligence that presents a completely new attack surface, including expanded approach for machine learning models, 5G that introduce virtualization, hyper-accurate location, and increased volume of speed of the network, and it will escalate dramatically security challenge, especially in combination with IoT. Quantum computing, new computing paradigm present numerous threats that organization and data will be managed in the future. Discover a way to safeguard against novel attack vector and secure those pillars and prepare now for the post-quantum cryptography is mandatory. And the last one is extended reality. Variety of extended reality modalities presented the related vulnerabilities, especially when standard reality content is transferred over the cloud with an artificial intelligence capabilities on the cloud-based environment, it will increase really dramatically the risk for the client, for the customer. In conclusion, we seen that in this research, even if 34% of respondents spend more than $500 million investing in emerging technology, the CISO universally underestimated when they need to start planning to secure also this kind of new technology. And this is a gap that we need to fill, because it's a huge gap and a risky gap. Let me say again, in the new era, this new era that we are facing, is crucial starting to elaborate a strategic approach to secure our company from now, to secure our client, our citizens, in general, the nation from now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for this analysis and your answer, Roberto. Elsa, from Orange, how do you see the current cybersecurity landscape, and what are you doing about it?
Well, we actually are lucky with Orange, because we actually have, as Daniele was saying, it's important to make sure that we are protected, being an important company within France. So we've been taking the matter seriously for years, actually, within the Orange Group. We have Orange Cyber Defense within our remit, which is the first CERT, the Computer Emergency Response Team in Europe. It's actually the first company being an official CERT. So we are relaying and teaming up with them. We have the chance not to have to develop every solution from scratch, because this is their remit, this is their expertise. So with the wholesale activity, what we do is that we are making sure that we cover all the vulnerability that we know about, because actually there is a point which is really clear from everything we've been saying from the beginning. It's that we cannot control the threat, that is for sure. We can't control the threat. Everyone will be hit once by a hack. Orange have been in the previous year, everyone will be having a problem. The only thing we can do is try to make sure we address the vulnerability. So this is all about making sure from the creation of the solution to integrate security features, to go through this all through the life cycle of the solution of the services that we develop, and to have the proper infrastructure to maintain that. We have, like Daniele was saying, we have SOCs. We have 4 SOCs within IC into the entire world that covers the monitoring of the entire links we have. We've been developing solution like DDoS. We have DDoS solution for 10 years now, but we are increasing the scrubbing capacity. That was the cleaning form that Daniela was referring to. We call it a washing machine. So we have the biggest and biggest washing machine. So we are actually making sure that we do the proper thing to protect our customers. This is really what we want to do. Luckily having Orange Cyber Defense teaming up with us, making sure that we have the portfolio to address the operator needs, because this is something totally different from enterprises. So we have that strength, and if shouldn't have we Orange Cyber Defense, it has been certainly different, but we're lucky we have them with us. And what we see coming is mostly, finally, everybody is taking the matter seriously. You know, but because I've been on that topic for 3 years now, that was quite difficult to make understand within the operator world, within the wholesale world, that was something behind lurking for us to fail and to do something bad and then get into the weakness. So now it's people are taking the matter seriously, and we see more and more operators coming to us to get the expertise, because expertise is expensive. Skills is expensive. There is a shortage of skills. I know everyone on the field knows that. We are lacking the experts to cover. Having the tool is fine, but having the people that knows how to deal with the tool is something different. So people are sometimes lacking the expertise. They want someone to do the job for themselves because they want to focus on their core activities. So we see that coming. It's a matter of fact, we see coming, people asking for us to help them with this so that they can focus on their activity. And they are more and more looking at having the protection and having the protection that enables them to monetize, as Daniel was saying, to sell that protection to the end user and benefit from. So this is really the trend we're seeing, making sure that they are protected, and by effect protecting their customers and in the entire chain, like, and up to the end of the end users. This is definitely what we're seeing happening lately.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. I'm happy to see that as well. Orange is fully equipped and fully prepared to answer any questions and to work along.
I hope so. It's not,
No,
you know, there is always a risk. No, zero risk doesn't exist. So,
but that is with everybody. But it's already good, and I think that everybody on the panel and out there will agree with me that, as you mentioned, it's now. Yeah, it was important, but now it's really almost at the top of the agenda, and because it affects everybody, everywhere, every time, all the time. So this is something we really need to be aware of, and working together in partnerships. Absolutely, that could also be on the business side of the cybersecurity, could be a word. Now, going to Deutsche Telekom, Max, how do you see the current environment, and maybe going a little bit more on the DDoS side? I know you are famous for your examples. So if you are allowed to share with us one example, that I will be very thankful for that.
Sure. Well, there are many blackmailing examples in the recent, let's say, 4 or 5 weeks, where such as hacker organizations, let's say, I don't want to name them, or I can name them. It's very much known, Armada Collective, Fancy Bear, they all have those funny names, that attack certain companies with a very short proof of concept attack, send them an email and ask for Bitcoins, which is pretty expensive these days for the customers. And then most of the customers then turn to the operator, to the service providers, and ask for help. And this keeps us busy with emergency provisionings, because this is very much a trigger for many customers these days to look in their security level and make sure that they are very well protected in that case. So it's on the top of the agenda of many customers, I would say, but it goes away from the radar from time to time. And these hackers that are actually attacking on a daily basis, customers, partners, other suppliers, everybody, let's say, they come more on the radar, and then people start thinking, okay, I need to improve there. And in the past couple of years, when it became important, the availability of these critical infrastructures, as we as telcos are, and many of our customers are, the banking, the finance sector, they're all critical infrastructures to a certain extent, energy supply, and they're all important for it's all about availability. A very nice example is there was a young kid actually here in Germany. It's a bit older example, but he attacked all the logistics companies. So all these companies that typically have 3 letters, yeah, they were all attacked, very simple attacks with their websites. But what happened was, it was not very dramatically for these logistics companies, but it was dramatical for all the online retailers, because when they ship packets, they basically have an API to log on the website to create the tracking ID that we receive confirmation by email to track the post. And they couldn't do it. Yeah, they don't go to the post office to get a stamp on their package. Yeah, they do this online these days, of course. And this young kid, he was, I think, 20 years old. He announced that, he tweeted it, that he was successful with another company and another company and another company. And in the online companies, the web shops, they couldn't ship their goods. So in their inventory, there were all the packages waiting for delivery. Yeah, and the entire industry was affected by that. And luckily, his last tweet was that a SWAT team. So we helped the law enforcement to catch him. And the last tweet was that actually a SWAT team broke in his apartment and cracked his door. So I think you can still follow up that some screenshot on the internet on that topic. So this is a typical example of those hackers. But also mentioned by Daniele, the hospital that it's just 10 minutes here away from my home that has been attacked with this ransomware. And my wife, she's a doctor as well, not working at that hospital, but she got a lot of new patients coming in because the entire IT was not working. They couldn't even make phone calls, just to a simple ransomware attack. And the funny, well, it's not funny, that we had it already, that it's one of the first examples that a person died out of a cyber attack. And what I mean with let's say interesting is that it was an accident that these clinics have been attacked. The initial target of the attack was the university itself. So I don't know if there were somebody who was fearing taking exams or online classes or whatever, I don't know. But they used the backdoor in a VPN client and to get this ransomware into the system.
Well, that's heavy. Thank you, Max. Let me move into a bit of the tech and the tech acronyms. Roberto, and then I come to you, Daniele. How did the new technologies like IoT, big data, etc., change the security arena? And maybe please you can elaborate a little bit also on the fights between the attackers and the defenders. What did you see?
It's a complex question and answer, let me say. What I can say is that 5G IoT cloud feature for sure escalate security risks again. As more enterprise transition to 5G technology application, both services and providers and services customers will have to take security issues and potential implication to consideration from now. Considering that we have security issue carried over the previous generation of telecommunication protocol and standards that were not solved completely in 5G, such as lack of authentication function. The new security issue that arise from the 5G technology through feature introduce also virtualization that expands the attack surface and the hyper-accurate location that may increase again privacy issue for the users, but not only privacy issue for the user, let me say. Security concern also from the increased volume and speed of the network, such as surging video and remote computing of artificial intelligence. We introduce more frequent video communication and XR usage. I will introduce again new image and new video-based vulnerabilities. Like the growth of the cloud services, 5G has the potential to create, for example, shadow network to operate outside the knowledge and the management of the enterprise. As company learned early in the journey to cloud, they must manage enablement and bring rogue instance into the enterprise fold of controls by now. Additional lesson learned from the technology supply can also apply, let me say, in the 5G realm, such as ensuring device integrity through the entire spectrum, starting from hardware, firmware, and application. Likewise, the number of devices that can be connected to the network and the request of different type of services, low latency services, high reliability services, and so on, expose the network to jamming, denial of services, and other performance targets that are very sophisticated. For example, here, validating and testing configuration in a continuous integration, continuous delivery mode requires managing security risk and development, starting from the staging phase as well. Lastly, the consumer-friendly feature posed by this new technology, 5G, IoT, and so on, and devices, related devices, such as location-based or API services, and so on, directly target the user privacy offered by the user privacy offered by organization. Both companies should reinforce and expand privacy protocols to cover this broader range of services, considering also that there is and there will be a gap in terms of regulation during the next years. So we do not need to expect that we will have regulation in time and timely with new technology to face the new threats. In this scenario, let me say, it's pretty much clear from my side, from our side, how security is moving from a technical perspective to a business success factor, to a business perspective. I'm starting to call security as business security, no more technical security, but business security. And how much is important to have collaboration through the organization, especially with the areas that can join and put together and glue the situation in terms of risks and the calculation of the risks in terms of impacts on business, just like the anti-fraud department, just like the enterprise risk management department, in order to have a clear understanding of which are the exposure in terms of risks of our company and our clients too.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Daniele, what's your view on that?
Well, I think that between the slides and this broad answer given by Roberto, we have basically addressed all the space in terms of how new technologies can kill or help cybersecurity professionals in their day-by-day fight. I want just to comment on what Roberto was saying about business.
Please.
You know, the fights between attackers and defenders today is not just on the technical part. I mean, on the technical part, I don't want now to be out of the chorus, but let me say that understanding vulnerabilities on the technical side is becoming something quite easy, meaning that there are a lot of research and development teams that are working day by day, and there is this continuous fight, you know, the chess game that I was representing before. But vulnerabilities is really on the business part sometimes, in the things that you don't think about. Consider, for example, that sometimes security is not applicable by design just for business reasons. When you build an IoT device and the market price of this device is a few dollars or less, how do you think you can implement and embed security features that are costing maybe hundreds of euros? This is the first question. So sometimes security is not by design. Security is not by a clear decision of the one that is producing the device. Point number one. Point number two, sometimes when we talk about cybersecurity, we always think about those huge platforms to protect, collect data, analyze. But sometimes we are losing the very smallest sense of the places from which we can be attacked. And again, attacked not just from a technical perspective, but by a business perspective. I give you a clear example of that because it's a real fact that we went through in Sparkle. You know, there is this legend that telco operators do not want to use open source components because they don't trust the open source, and they go to buy from you know, software developers, and they spend millions of euros in BSS, OSS applications, element management system, whatever. Now, there is a research that both Forrester and Gartner were issuing that basically analyze the proprietary software, and it comes out that 85 to 90% of the most famous firms are using open source components within their software development. Now, how do you protect from this? How do you know, first of all, if open source components are used or not within the software stack that you either buy or develop by yourself? How do you know, and you know, in open source, the market is very dynamic. A team that today is developing something that is becoming really famous and giving a shot to the market in 1 week may not exist anymore because the people that were working there fights or they are recruited by somewhere else. So there are specific tools today, there are specific governance tools for this that are protecting enterprises and their business from the misusage of open source software. And this was one of the questions that we ask ourselves. How can we be sure that we don't have this problem? So we came in contact with the partner, and the partner was you know, highlighting the solution. The solution is used internally, and the solution properly packaged with managed services became one of the components of the portfolio of Sparkle. So you see, I mean, the fight and the defense and the attack surface sometimes is really in a corner that you are not visualizing. And let me tell you the last thing, because the endless fight between attackers and fighters and defenders is one of the elements that can increase the security posture, especially of a telco operator or any other company that is running an internal security operations center. How do you know if your people, if the ones that needs to respond to an attack can properly react on a stressful condition? How do you know which capabilities they have? How do you know how they can better react to a different kind of attack? Well, also for this, there is an answer, and we have implemented, again, both for internal and then we propose to the market, what we call cybersecurity simulation platform. It's basically a platform where you play chess, where you build two teams. One team is receiving a task to attack predefined victims, and another team is playing the role of the defender. And this is based on real commercial off-the-shelf products. So you run the game on a real environment, of course simulated, but with real licensed products, with the real network interface. And there you can make the difference. So again, internal evolving towards business.
Okay, thank you so much, Daniele. Now, quickly, and I want to hear because we heard it from you already, Daniele. But from Orange and Deutsche Telekom, what I would like to know, and Elsa, please, if you would like to start, and you tipped already a little bit on it, but what for you are the, let's say, the main opportunities for the operators to improve and to actually to develop focus propositions to provide to your customers?
Well, the opportunity would be certainly to make sure that our customer get the peace of mind they deserve. So what we've been launching actually since the 1st of July is some high-end offers with security or anti-fraud embedded within the solution. So we make sure that we do sell the wholesale activity they need, but on top of that, we sell the protection that goes with it. If I'm talking about IP transit, then we'll have DDoS mitigation, unlimited DDoS mitigation that will go through that will be embedded into the proposal. If we talk about SS7 signaling, selling roaming capacity, will be selling a firewall solution that will prevent hacking, because we haven't discussed about that, but the mobile network is actually, as well as the IP network, is at risk, because the protocol, you know, is a very old one back in the 70s with plenty of vulnerability. So we do have each time a security solution embedded to protect our customers. So this is the opportunity to make sure that we are offering something on top of, you know, that does make sense at the moment, because as everyone was saying, no one is safe. This is first opportunity. Second opportunity is to use the resell ability that we have for DDoS. We have increased the scrubbing capacity because, as we were saying, 2.3 terabyte, that is the utmost DDoS attack we've seen lately. So meaning that our scrubbing capacity need to make sure that we are going with the market. So we are having major scrubbing capacity because our capacity is within the internet, but we can offer to our customers, being the operator, the capacity to sell that cleaning capacity to their customers as well, being bank, you know, being hospital. So meaning that they will pay for the protection, but they will be able to sell the protection to their customer. The threshold is not the same. You know, if you have a threshold for mitigate DDoS attack when you're operator, the company behind that, if there are some burst of small burst of data, it won't be seen by the system because it's too small. But we are giving the opportunity to the company for the operator to do that and protect that there. Because at the end of the day, the example was given was perfect that Max was given. It's not seen at the at some level because it's too big, but below, as the example he was talking about with the delivery companies, it's really a major pain. And that's the reason we have to make sure we always have in mind the entire chain up to the end user. I'm repeating again, but really this is the key. Whenever we are offering something, we have to make sure we do protect up to the latest extent, being you, Eric, a end user, being me, Elsa, being Max, everyone at the end of the day. So this is really the opportunity we're seeing that to make a difference in the market using that specific topic.
Thank you, Elsa. Quickly, Max, quickly a couple of words because we're running out of time and people are killing me probably. But anyway, it's too important. It's too important. Please, Max, please.
Whenever we do something, whenever we launch a new product, there's security embedded. So this is our overall strategy. So whenever we develop something, we make all the security assessment to make sure that the product is safe, secured, and looking at all the cybersecurity goals, we do our best to fulfill them. So confidentiality, integrity, and of course, for a provider, most important, availability. So whatever we do, security is important and it's embedded. And on top of more or less every product, as Elsa has mentioned, we do similar things. So whenever product you have, such as IP transit, there's an optional way of doing DDoS protection on top. So that's basically our strategy, and to keep up with the challenges that are out there.
Okay, thank you very much, Max. Now, before we close, ladies and gentlemen, there's one quick question from the audience, and that's actually for Daniele. Quick and easy answer, probably, hopefully. And this is from Elio Salvadori, so thank you very much for that question. Are there any collaborations happening between Sparkle and startups on research entities on the emerging risk faced by your customers?
Well, there are ongoing collaboration happening not only with startups, but also with clear giants that are best in class in cybersecurity. As I said, the cybersecurity is something that you cannot invent from one day to another, and you cannot risk to present yourself to a customer talking about security and then lose your face immediately after. So I think a common way to deal with those topics is to build up a vertical partnership with subjects that are really working on this stream, but also to look for specific few things that can really change the deal. I was mentioning in our roadmap that the last frontier is, to us at least, being still closer to our connectivity portfolio, is the quantum communication and key distribution. We are working with a few selected partners there. So if there is something that is worth to study, we are open to any kind of collaboration.
Okay, thank you so much, and grazie, Daniele. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to an end of this panel session. There's one other to come in, let's say, within half an hour. But before we go, I would like to really, Daniele, thank you so much for your presentation and for being on the panel. Elsa, all the way from Paris, Max from Düsseldorf, and Roberto, in vicino to Roma. Thank you very much. It has been an honor having you on the panel, and which was and actually, ladies and gentlemen, we were talking cybersecurity, and then at the forefront at the Telco Infrastructure Summit virtually from Rome. So with these words, again, thank you very much to my panelist, keynote speaker. Thank you to Sparkle for hosting this panel. And from my side, over to you, Laura. I know, don't be mad with me, but it's a too important subject. Thank you, guys.
Okay, Eric. Thank you so much. Dear participants, we are at the end of this panel, and I would like to thank Danielle from Sparkle for his interesting presentation, Eric for moderating, our panelists for sharing the valuable knowledge, and audience for tuning in and listening. We are looking forward to welcoming you in our next webinar planned at 11:40 CT time. This panel will be soon available on CC Media portal for you to watch it. If you would like to become a sponsor and support us for our future CC Webinar Live session, please contact CC team for more information. And bye for now. See you soon.